one. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Boss Rush Spotlight podcast, where the developer and creators all around the gaming and creator space come here and discuss their products. I am your host, Stephanie Klimov, and today we have a very, very special guest from Choose Co., Lizzi Middleman, Associate Publisher, Director of Marketing. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
I'm very excited. You can tell I kind of stumbled a bit because I was trying to come up with a more original way to introduce you versus what's boilerplate. So I kind of fumbled a bit there, but nice to have you here. The majority of our guests to date have been mostly video game developers, but we have been very fortunate to have other creators. We've had someone that does music. So it's nice to discuss books because we actually have quite a few people in our network that read books. They just consume them like crazy. We write book reviews on occasion. Do you mind, other than that main intro, just kind of introducing yourself and what you do?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like it's worth mentioning that what's fun about Choose Your Own Adventure books is that we're game books. And so we definitely have that same kind of crossover with many of the folks that you normally have in your sphere. So my name is Lizzi Middleman. I'm the Associate Publisher and Director of Marketing at Choose Co. We exist to publish the Choose Your Own Adventure books, which were originally published by Bantam in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, then went out of print and then came back courtesy of us. So I've been with the company now on and off since 2014. So I have a lot of Choose Your Own Adventure experience. I've read almost every single book, and that is pretty impressive, not to toot my own horn.
No, there's a lot of books there.
A lot of them. There are many. And there are also a number of books that so as far as what we publish, what we do, we are a combination of reissues and totally new content. So there's a lot of the fan favorites from the early days, like Journey Under the Sea, Space and Beyond, Bible into the Sahara, as well as totally new stuff like Brooklyn Mermaid, Zombie Pen Pal, and even books for littler kids, which are super duper popular. And we even released some board books at one point. So that's who I am and that's what we do. But if also no one knows what Choose Your Own Adventure books are, maybe we should also let them know.
Oh, absolutely. We'll definitely dive right into that. But before we do, I like to start with a little bit of rapid fire questions or icebreakers. So how do you power yourself through the workday? Are you a coffee drinker, tea, or energy drinks, or none?
Right. I am an ADDer. So what I generally do is other tasks in the middle of my day. And that really keeps me focused, is to focus and do something else. I drink a little bit of coffee in the morning. I love oat milk, team oat milk forever. But I really only started drinking it when my second child was born, if I'm being honest, and things got a little crazy over here.
You just need that tiny little bit of boost. Parenthood, I'm telling you.
It's the second one that really broke me.
Gosh. But I can relate to that. I have a difficult time putting in quality work when I'm focusing, when I extend beyond a couple hours. And it's astounding because it took me a while. I was very stubborn in my ways that it is okay to step away and do something else.
Oh, yeah.
Because I just feel like my quality of work will actually be better once I return to what I'm originally supposed to be doing. Yeah. So I'm right there with you.
And I mean, not to plug Choose Your Own Adventure books too much, but a lot of what works about Choose Your Own Adventure is that disruption where you have to stop and make a choice as opposed to just sitting down and reading a book all the way through. It's like wait. And it keeps you engaged. It keeps your brain firing. It's quite magical. So
no, this is what we're here for. We're here to plug. But I will say I agree, and we'll get more into this later, but I had missed the Choose Your Own Adventure books for a while, whether it's this brand or other brands that adopted that method, like Goosebumps, back when Goosebumps did that type of thing. And I wasn't really a good reader, so out of all the books I could really get through, that helped me a lot, and they ended up being my favorite kind of books. And when I entered my late teens and then in college, I mean, I had other priorities. I was like, whatever happened to Choose Your Own Adventures? Like, why can't that still be like a mainstay? I think it would do really well. So,
Right? I know. I totally agree. I know. I mean, interactive, multiple ending game books are my jam. I love them. I believe in it so deeply and truly. And I think what happens is that our brains sort of mush all of these books together, of like things from childhood, serialized, like Scholastic Book Fair, Goosebumps. It's sort of like this big mishmash of, and then you're like, obviously not paying attention. Why would you be paying attention to Choose Your Own Adventure when you're like 18? So random. I mean, I'm definitely trying to change that. I feel like a lot of what our social media presence has been is to essentially say in many different ways, did you know that we're back?
mhm.
Surprise. Because like I'm saying, I just don't think that people are paying that close attention. We all move on with our lives, and I think that's okay. But it's definitely part of my job to make sure that everybody continues to know that we are here and do the good work that we do, which is helping often kids who don't like reading and don't want to read. Like I think that's really often our target market because we do have all these elements that make it more fun.
Oh, absolutely. I've gotten a couple here that I got for my son, and he has a hard time, he has a hard time getting into reading. He has, but it's still like primarily picture books, and he's way past the level of just that. And I feel like this, for those that are watching it, there's plenty of artwork in there, but plenty of text as well. And when I'm doing nighttime reading with him, when we reach an ending, he goes, "Oh, can we do another ending?" So I'm like, "All right, let's go back." Then we're done. I'm like, "Oh, come on, that one was short. Can we just do one more ending?" So
Yes,
I
I
my kid can vouch for that.
That makes my heart feel so happy. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
I
Now,
mean, oh yeah, go ahead.
no, you finish. You're the guest.
Oh, well, that's okay. Only that I feel like another one of the fun things is that rereadability, that it's teeny tiny books, not a lot of pages that you're often reading, but
Mm-hmm.
also we have like 40 stories in this compact
Mm-hmm.
space. So it's like a lot of bang for your buck and also not a huge time commitment, not a huge reading commitment because you could read one ending, you could read three, you could read the whole thing. There's people who read from page one until the end and are very confused, and I don't understand them. I never will, but Godspeed. So,
Yeah, that I've never heard of that. I don't envy that person. It doesn't make sense to me. But how about for you when it comes to just reading in general, whether it's a choose your adventure or a traditional novel? Do you have a favorite genre that you like to read?
so I am in an audiobook phase of my life right now,
Mm,
and I've found that not every audiobook is created equal, and they're very different experiences than reading print books or
mhm,
ebooks or something like that. So, my favorite thing right now are weird sci-fi, slightly humorous, often British audiobooks.
ooh,
So
okay.
if you wanted to get more specific than that, I don't know that you could. But I mean, some of my favorite reads recently were The Husbands as well as The Ministry of Time. And I just finished reading Ready Player One, which was highly overdue that I had not read that book yet.
Mhm.
And so not British, but similarly strange and interesting, makes you think. So
Mm, nice. Well, kind of a more in that vein too. If there were to be a place you could travel to for a day, like a fictional place, for either from a book or a movie or a video game, where would it be?
oh, that I could go to. Oh man, I don't know. I wasn't prepared for this. Uh, well, could I go back in time instead?
Sure, let's do that.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Um, I think it would be really incredible to go back to the Romantic period in England and meet some of my favorite poets. I
Mm,
studied a lot of that in college and is very, very precious to me. So I think it'd be incredible to meet some of those writers from that time period.
That's excellent. I love it. Last but not least, it is video game related, and I think I'm kind of giving away what my answer would be. But in your opinion, who is the superior Mario brother? Is it Mario or Luigi?
Mm. You see, because I was going to say Toad, but I think that's a cop out
No, no. We got
because
some
I'm Team
strong Toad
Toad.
fans.
I stand Toad.
Nice. That's a first for here, and I love it. My son argues with me almost on a daily basis that it's Mario, and it's my fault. I antagonize him, so
This is why children exist and why parents exist,
yeah.
is to antagonize one another.
Sure. Well, thank you for that fun little banter. I'm just going to do quick fast facts about Choose Co. that I found off the website, just so those that aren't as familiar with the company and its works can kind of learn a bit more. So, Choose Co. Purpose driven publishing house, bringing groundbreaking Choose Your Own Adventures game book series back to print. When I saw 2006, I'm like, oh, that wasn't too long ago. I graduated from high school. I'm like, wait a minute. It's almost, yeah, 20
It's
years
been
from
a
next
minute. Yeah,
year.
I'm
Oh
with
my
you.
gosh. Yeah, so Choose Go has been very successful, selling over 16 million copies and expanding its list to include linear fiction as well. The original and best known game books in the world, the Choose Your Own Adventure series, has been translated to 40 languages and has over 270 million books in print worldwide. This company is based out of North Central Vermont. I'm in Massachusetts, so we're neighbors. Hello. And it boasts a top-notch creative team dedicated to promoting literacy through immersive game books based on the principles of the series founder, R.A. Montgomery.
Yes,
So
that is
very,
us.
very nice. So before we get into, book specific stuff, um, for the listeners and viewers, so I met Lizzie at PAX East this year. I was primarily, booking it from game booth to game booth, and many times I passed by the Choose Your Own Adventure booth and I kept eyeing it. I'm like, Choose Your Own Adventure exists now? Like it's back? I'm like, oh man, I really want to go. And then I just caved and as soon as I found time in between my appointments, I went and stopped by, talked to Lizzie, and just was over the moon and just staring at all the titles. So I just wanted to, check in, and how have you been since then? I know you also attended PAX West. So
Yes.
just how have your experiences at PAX have been this year?
It's been great. It's been phenomenal. This was our first year really going to all the PAX shows. We started off at PAX Unplugged in December of last year, but in my brain, that is still this year. And so we were at PAX East, PAX West. We're going to PAX Unplugged again this year. And I mean, just what a fun place to be. Like, what great people. I mean, we've just met the coolest folks of not only fans, but like totally new families who are getting into reading Choose, or like, I don't know. It's been great. It's been a lot. PAX is a lot, but I definitely, when I was at Boston, had a really bad cold, and I think that you are getting a much better version of me now. So
Oh man, that stinks. And it's from everyone that tells me, and at least, I was working as press, so that 4-day stint can take a lot out of you.
I know, and PAX West being in Seattle and us being East Coast based was, it kind of rocked my world. But now feeling recovered and looking forward to planning 2026 and seeing how we can connect with everybody again. It's just it's a really good place for us, since I think I mentioned at the top, we have so much crossover with the gaming world. A lot of video games were inspired by Choose Your Own Adventure books. A lot of developers grew up reading the books and just were like, wait a second, I can make this even better. Not to say that, video games are better than Choose Your Own Adventure books, but
Oh,
they maintain many of the same foundational principles of being, like branching narratives and really difficult choices and stories that make you think and are thought provoking and hard to decide what to do, So It's very fun to see how we still fit into the equation.
I'm glad you mentioned that because, video games haven't now it's a little bit more commonplace, haven't always given players the ability to choose their path in a game. Decades ago, it would just be a linear experience, nothing wrong with that, but you follow a set story, you don't have a choice, or there's the illusion of choice, but you either have one ending, maybe two, like good and bad. But
Mhm.
we are seeing a lot more, like whether it's based on a morality meter or certain decisions, who you pick, what you do, and then you get an array of endings at the end. So almost like, oh my goodness, it stole the idea from Choose Your Own Adventure.
Yeah,
But
no way. It's that we're
yeah.
all connected
Yes,
in this
yeah, yeah.
place. I think that art borrows from art, and that is what
Oh, for
makes art
sure.
great. And it's interesting to hear about the like weighted choices, or like the optimal ending. And I would say that that would be like the worst way to create a choose your own adventure book, because there shouldn't be a right ending. There
Mm,
shouldn't be an easy, obvious choice. That of course, that if you go down this path, you know that it's doomed. The book is not supposed to be kind of that prescribed. The idea is that you create a world where all of the choices are heavily weighted and the possibilities are really endless. And so, yes, sometimes negative things might happen at the end. Sometimes good things happen at the end, but it's all part of the experience versus it being like the writer saying, well, this was actually the way you were supposed to go, because there isn't supposed to. The whole point is that you read and go back and try again and do all different read throughs. So,
I'm glad you said that. So, like, in case people were wondering, like, for Space and Beyond, there's 44 endings. So, basically, what you're saying is there's really no canon ending. It's just more about the exploration, which, by the way, at the backside of, I assume would be every book, 'cause I only have 3 of these, they show
yes.
branching endings here.
Yes, and that is new in Choose Co. That's like
Mhm.
a Choose Co edition. The earlier
Oh,
books didn't
nice.
have a map, and so people would make some really incredible maps that if you want to go online and look around, there have been some really beautiful visualizations that have been created of the early books, but
Mhm.
um, we just started republishing in that sort of older format
Mhm.
this fall, and those books don't have the map. They are really maintaining
Okay.
that old look and feel, whereas all of our books that are what we call the classics do have that
Mhm.
map to show you where you might go through the story.
Excellent. And yeah, and I know you mentioned at the top, so for those that just don't know about Choose Your Own Adventure at all, the books aren't meant to be read sequentially, page 1 through 100 in order. You will get confused. Um, and it's very chopped up. So if you get to your first decisions, if you decide to do this or decide to do that, you'll get kind of, I don't want to say random, like obviously it was intentional, but you'll get page numbers that really aren't in sequence, which I think helps because you also you don't want to spoil what you may decide just because you see in the next page, like, oh, this one leads to the end, so I'll pick something else. So you will find yourself going literally back and forth almost the entire time until you reach an ending.
Yeah, I would say that we are the book series most associated with paper cuts from
Oh
the
no.
multiple finger. There are memes out there of the like, this is the right way to read it, right? So,
Mm. Actually, I was going to ask you because my son, when he saw the back, he's like, all right, I think we did this, this, and the other thing. And then he would keep, like I said, asking to go back and try again.
yeah.
um from the publisher themselves, like, do you guys have a recommendation how people can best keep track of what they like if they want 100% a book, like
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
time? What are some recommended ways to keep track?
I would say that every single choose your own adventure book that we publish and that we work on editorially, we are creating a hand drawn map, and we are often using a mapping software where we're keeping track of it, because there's no other way to copy edit and make sure that all of the storylines are syncing up correctly if you aren't mapping at the same time that you're working on it. So we actually have iterations of maps as we're working on books, because the turn twos, what we call, like turn to this page, turn to that page, will change throughout the editorial process. So yeah, I mean, I do recommend it. I've been making maps for 10 years now, maybe more, and it's yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Nice.
There's some really cool author maps that we worked with Atlas Obscura on, a few
Mhm.
articles all about choose your own adventure maps. And if anybody wants to look those up, you could see some old maps from back in the day, as well as kind of like an investigation into the ChooseCo ones. Investigation maybe is the wrong term for it, but sort of saying like, okay, which one had the most endings, the most pages until you got to a choice, the most negative endings, all of that. And there's also some resources online like Samizdat and Damien's Gamebook that really delves into the choose your own adventure lore of mapping and outcomes and everything. We have like the best fan base. I feel very grateful to have the people who are in our universe with us along for the ride.
That's awesome. And I'm glad you're talking about that because I wanted to transition and ask about your primary audience for the Choose Your Own Adventure series, as well as how you're able to onboard a new audience in the modern age.
Yes, it's a really good question. It's something that we're thinking about all the time, especially as we started publishing these retro editions, which are such a nostalgic piece. Like, I think I held it up in the back of it, The Cave of Time, which was the first book published by Bantam in the original run of the series. Uh, Very exciting for us, and absolutely a collector's item with all of this old artwork. And, when we first launched ChooseCo, we spent a lot of time talking to kids today and saying, what do you think about this? What do you think about the look of this? And they were like, looks old, looks boring, And so we went, okay, heard. We'll get bright and shiny and redo some stuff. I mean, it was a little more complicated than that, but I mean, it definitely was a part of that conversation. And I think that a lot also of what we're doing these days, which are a larger format, like we have Cryptid Chronicles Mothman that just came out, and an adaptation of At the Mountains of Madness by H.P. Lovecraft, which are very, very much targeting 9 to 12-year-old readers today, 8 to 12-year-old readers today. And it looks correct on the shelf next to many of the other kinds of books that kids are looking for and reading. Whereas I would say, like, this is we're kind of selling this to adults. We're selling it to everybody, don't get me wrong, but it's meant to be more of a
Mhm.
collector's piece versus, I guess I kind of see it as an all ages where you can share something that you loved from your childhood. Like, when I was growing up, I always said that my favorite book was The Island of Blue Dolphins because that was my mom's favorite book. And it was very special to me that it was her favorite book as a kid. And I think that that is a
Mhm.
lot of what we see, are a lot of parents who are so excited, uncles, aunts, family, just like to pass it down to the next generation. And so whether it is the version that looks a little bit more bright, shiny, and new, or the version that is really harkening back to the past, I do think that a lot of our market is really, I grew up on these books and I can't wait to share them with kids today, because I can't imagine, it's a kid not reading choose your own adventure books. And that's definitely how I feel. Like, if we ever went away, my heart would break. I couldn't imagine that. And so, as much as we feel like we've been gone, my whole reason to exist, like why I wake up in the morning, is to make sure that kids get
Mhm.
choose your own adventure books in their hands. So it's a good reason to get up in the morning.
Oh, I like how you explain that, especially with the Cave of Time, which we'll talk about in a minute. We'll have the draw of, older audience members based on nostalgia and being a collector's piece, and then the desire to share with kids, because even if maybe the cover art might quote unquote look old, I feel like Choose Your Own Adventure is kind of almost the ideal type of book for kids, especially kids these days with very, very short attention spans, just because of like, social media. screen went blank for a
Screens,
second.
all the screens. I know. And I do think that also, oh, sorry. I think
Good.
that we might be breaking up a little bit, but
Okay.
only to say that I do think that nostalgia is also trending right now. We're seeing a
Mm,
lot of these older properties come back. And not to say that we are exactly in that same vein because we've been around. But I do think that there's a renewed interest and energy for kids today that might not have been there, like we're saying, in 2006, which seems like yesterday, but was actually quite a while. I think it's like almost 20 years ago.
yeah. All right. Well, you mentioned it, but I believe one of your latest releases is The Cave of Time, correct?
Yes,
I
yes, that just came
believe.
out in August.
Yep. So I got the synopsis here, but yeah, it was one of the originals, first ever Choose Your Own Adventures. It was initially published in 1979. Edward Berger, and it sold 17 million copies, and the version you held up, your republication of it has the original cover art, which is amazing. The synopsis is you are hiking in Snake Canyon, where you find yourself lost in the strange, dimly lit cave of time. Depending on the curving paths you take, you'll emerge into a different, thrilling moment in history. Will you be adopted into a band of early humans and hunt down a woolly mammoth, or will you be captured by medieval knights and put on trial before a king? That's terrifying. Even more terrifying, or you'll find yourself as a passenger on board the Titanic moments before it hits an iceberg. So this looks like right up my alley. Also, one thing I just also want to point out too. I find these books incredibly affordable. That one will be retailing at $8.99 USD, right?
Mhm.
And it will. No, it won't be. I was looking at my notes. There'll be a retro box set, but it won't have Cave of Time. It'll have three other
Well,
titles.
it does. It does have
Oh,
Cave of Time in
okay.
it. What it doesn't have in it is The Mystery of Chimney Rock, which is another one of these Edward Packard books that has the same retro packaging. This is actually a book from the 80s. This printing. I don't know if you can see any difference,
Yeah.
but we really tried to. So this was printed by Bantam. Like you can see, it has all this
Hmm.
wear and tear, but really so similar to how they used to look. We're really trying
Yeah.
to replicate that. But the Mystery of Chimney Rock, this is coming out in November. And so this isn't in there, but the retro box comes out in October. It has The Cave of Time, Bible into the Sahara, Space and Beyond, and
Journey.
Journey Under the Sea. Yeah, which were the first four books in the Bantam 1, 2, 3, 4 numbering system. So it's
Yeah.
a beautiful, another really collector's item. It includes a limited edition poster.
Ooh.
It's got this beautiful foil on it. I am so excited. I can't wait to get my hands on it since we still have another month.
Oh
Oh,
gosh, I might have to double dip because I already have Space and Beyond and Journey Under the Sea, but that sounds amazing. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So Cave of Time.
yes,
Um,
time.
tell me more about it. I know I read the synopsis. How's the reception been? What were your personal thoughts about the book?
It's been wonderful. We didn't have the rights to publish The Cave of Time for 25 years. So, or, since we've been back, so 20 years, but it's been off of shelves for 25.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just really a long time coming. And it was the book that had the one on it. And it feels very silly to say, but a lot of times, the way that we remember childhood, the way that we remember these foundational pieces of our upbringing is again kind of globs together. So if you were to look on Goodreads, you can see that The Cave of Time has, I think it's like thousands of reviews. And it's often people really talking about Choose Your Own Adventure in general because everybody remembers Choose Your Own Adventure as The Cave of Time. And
Okay.
I hope that everybody doesn't come for me, everybody in the comments, because obviously I know that there are many people with very distinct memories. And that is one of those things that we hear at PAX shows on social media of, oh, I love this one with a vampire that was in space. And do you know? And like all these very specific little pieces of a Choose Your Own Adventure book. And so I'm speaking in broad strokes here, that a lot of times what will happen is when people talk about Choose Your Own Adventure, they hold this book up. And it's because it's a really great book. It wasn't the first one ever written, which is, I think, kind of interesting. It's the one that Bantam decided to put as number one.
I
And
see.
then 2, 3, 4, which we said were, Bible into the Sahara, which was one of the most looping, multiple ending Choose Your Own Adventure books that was written in those early days. But The Cave of Time really stands up. And because time travel just never gets old, I personally love time travel stories. You think that they're just fun and fascinating, and you kind of learn something while having like a fun time, which is cool, as well as, I, you know, there are elements of books today that feel really contemporary, really interesting. And then in 10 years, they sort of like, you know,
Mm.
something like this, a book like this, it doesn't get old to talk about the Titanic. It continues to be a
Timeless.
really,
Yeah.
exactly, of imagine being there. Can you imagine? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
right. So Abraham Lincoln is in this book. You're on the Great Wall. There's so much that you just go to so many different time periods. There's so all different places. It's a very cool book. It never goes out of style. So
Wow, so it sounds like it's more than just a couple of time pieces in there. How many endings, may I ask, are in Cave of
this
Time?
is 40 possible endings in this one. And look how little this book is. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? It's It's great. It's great. And The Mystery of Chimney Rock, I will say, is another one of these books that people really remember. It's kind of like you have to solve the puzzle in order to break the curse, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole book feels like a game. It's very, very
Oh,
gamified.
interesting. Okay.
Yes. So
All right. So how about with Cave of Time, is that just kind of more, I don't want to call it a linear experience. It's more like you choose a path and you see your path through that time period. And then when you want to choose another path, you start again. Because I know you mentioned some are a little bit more looping, some is a bit more puzzle based. Would you say Cave of Time is just more like you kind of go on one type of adventure at a time?
I think every Choose Your Own Adventure book has the opportunity to end up in a place you had no intention of ending up in. And that when I say looping, what I mean is that you can arrive at the same place from many different
I
spots.
see. Okay.
So you could, I wonder if I have, I do. Okay. So this is Bible into the Sahara, which was one of the books that we mentioned. So if you can see here, all of these dotted lines,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
that's
okay.
those are spots where you get to the same page from different parts of the story, different parts of the book.
Mm.
So it's so you can loop back to where you kind of were. So you could start here, read through to here, end up over here, end up back over here, and then over
Yep.
here again, where you are sort of encountering many of the same things. And that's part of the
I see.
crazy copy editing experience, is making sure that all of those ways still work.
Makes
And
sense.
that like there's no plot holes. It's way more complicated than a regular book where you're like, okay, I just have to like make sure that, this person was wearing a red shirt and had already spoken to this person by the time they end up here. With ours, it's like, okay, but if you did this, then there's the implications of that. And yeah, it's holy moly.
I can't even imagine copy editing. So I am a copy editor just for our website, and that like is pretty straightforward. And I've actually written and published my own books, and I'd had to like kind of, kind of copy edit my own before I would go to an actual editor, and even that was very hard. I can't even imagine what it would be like to copy edit something and just make sure everything
Yes.
lines up.
Yes, it's really a particular skill set. And a lot of writers will be excited to work with us. And then they start writing and they go, whoa, I
Mm.
did not know what I just signed on for. This is way more complicated and difficult. And we're like, it's okay, it's okay. We can help you. This is why we exist, because we are the experts. But I think it seems on the surface like, oh, it's just like a gimmick, you choose left, you choose right, whatever, whatever. But there's so much more that goes into it, which is a lot of what we've been talking about.
Mhm. Well, you mentioned the Mystery of Chimney Rock, and that comes out in November. Would you mind, or would you be okay with talking about a couple of other books in the pipeline? I made notes of some in 2026, but if you'd like to kind of give us a preview of what to expect, that'd be great.
Yes. So this fall, the big books that we are publishing, I think I've mentioned all of them, but this fall we have The Cave of Time, we have the Retro Box, Cryptic Chronicles Mothman at the Mountains of Madness, and The Mystery of Chimney Rock. And then for spring of 2026, the big book that we are really, really excited about is called The Stowaway, and that is written by Griffin McElroy,
Hmm.
who many people know from the Adventure Zone, as well as his
Oh,
popular YouTube and podcast series. He's wonderful. They're all wonderful. We're so excited. That one comes out in March. And then we also have Dungeon Crawl at the Haunted Mall,
ooh,
as well as Kaiju Gaga, which is one of our younger readers' Choose Your Own Adventure Junior books. This is not Kaiju Gaga, obviously, but you can see it's a totally different format and is in full color, still interactive, and for a 5 to 8 year old reader. Kaiju Gaga is like Stitch, but better. That's the way I keep being like, every time I look at it, I'm like, Stitch vibes, Stitch
oh my
vibes.
gosh. Yes, please give me that. I'll
Oh,
read
I
it.
know. Oh my gosh. I can't wait for everybody to see how amazing that book came out because it just went to the printer the other day. So, woohoo
Oh,
about that book. We're also bringing out 2 more Ed books, Edward Packard books that season, which are Your Codename is Jonah and Who Killed Harlow Thrombey.
hmm.
And then I don't believe that we've announced the rest of what's coming out in 2026. Well, mom's the word on that, but we'll have to talk again so I can tell you all about those.
No, no worries. That's enough to kind of, keep my calendar full. I'm super excited to hear about all of that. Do you guys have a goal of how many books you produce in a year? Does that vary? And also, and I'm sorry to tack on another question, because I am, you know, kind of adjacent to the publishing world because I work with an indie publisher. How has the industry been? How are you trying to keep yourselves going? Like, I know there's passion there, but you need to make sure the business survives.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, big publishers, like Scholastic, Penguin Random House, Macmillan, those sorts of publishers are cranking out hundreds of books every season. They are, and I think that what happens, not like no shade on them by any means, but sometimes you have not all of them are winners is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
We're a small independent publisher with a small team, and what's beautiful about what we're doing, while yes, we are doing more than we used to, like when I started at ChooseCo, we were bringing out more like 2 to 3 titles a season, and now we're up to say 5 to 7 ish. We believe in each and every one of these. If this book is being published by us, it's because it is a great book and we have
Mm,
taken great care and a lot of attention and love has gone into it. So I think that the best thing that you can do as a book publisher, as a creator, is make something that is good,
mm.
something that is great, something that you believe in. And that is what will sell the best. If you make 100 mediocre things, then you will see 100 mediocre sales versus a few really, really good ones. And so that is definitely our business model is less is more, so that way we can really give it the attention that it deserves.
No, I like that. And, I feel like it's similar to the video game industry too, and has nothing to do with giving shade to larger companies because larger companies can produce those big AAA blockbusters.
Yeah, exactly.
But, there's pros and cons to everything. And the con might be the risk of just focusing more on churning out numbers, and then things that they expect to be blockbuster hits might either flop or be or sometimes you can tell from a game or even a book series that if it gets released at like really regularly and the team is just, kind of burning out, you don't feel that passion. Not to be cheesy, but I really can tell, especially with indie games or indie books, that there is a certain passion and love that you can read in between the lines. And that's
Mhm.
kind of why I had gravitated towards the choose your own adventure type books back in my day, other than the fact that they were just fun. But it just felt like it had its own personality that sticks out. I can never see a choose your own adventure book just being like another bland, I'm not going to
Right.
mention any series.
Right. We're not
No,
here to talk about them.
no.
So, and as you were talking to, I was thinking about the board game that there was a license where we licensed our brand to Asmodee Z-Man Games to create board
Ooh.
games based on two of our books.
Uh-huh.
One of which was based on House of Danger, this book, which is probably the most bananas choose your own adventure book ever
Most
written.
bananas. Okay. I like
Yes.
bananas.
Like when you ask me what kind of books I like, right? It's like Banana Town. And so that game, when it first came out, the people who were working on it were so passionate, and it really shone through. And we haven't gotten anything but great feedback on that game, and it's really why or how we kind of ended up getting into the PAX world. Is that all of a sudden we were talking to board game people, and they were like, you guys should hang out with us. And we were like, all right, sounds good to me. And so that was like a really lovely brand extension that was fueled by people who really loved the books, took great care. The illustrations were just such a perfect homage to what our books, as well as the writing. It was like such a wonderful brand extension because it felt so true to us.
Hmm. Well, it's like you read my mind. I was going to ask you what are maybe your top three, for example, favorite choose your own adventure books personally.
Yes, I think House of Danger is in that top three. I'm on the record loving Project UFO. I don't want anyone to go, but she said she liked that one, and I do because of late night editorial, really connecting with Flipto the alien, and that's on me and for nobody else to understand. But I think that another in that sort of top grouping would be Prisoner of the Ant People, which is also sci-fi,
Mm,
so much sci-fi goodness, space exploration and miniaturization and all that. And then Space and Beyond as well is just
mm,
like, you kind of can't go wrong with those books. They're so much fun and just so wacky. You're like, I was not expecting to end up in prehistoric times when I got into the spaceship, Like, I mean, when you look at the cover, it cracks me up. You're like, what is going on here?
That's what grabbed me when I was trying to figure out what book to get for my son. I'm like, there is a spaceship and a dinosaur in the same frame. Like, I need to get this.
Yes,
What's happening?
actually. Like, I need to read it. I don't know what's going on here. And I think that is my reading taste to a T of I need to know what this is. So
Right. And I do want to say, as someone who's gone through this book, probably paid like almost every page explored with my son, like at first, like maybe an initial reaction to seeing a wacky cover like that is like, ooh, is it like a good wacky or a bad wacky? I can
that's
say
fair.
that when I read it, like even though like some of the endings are kind of like totally unexpected, which again I would say is a good thing. I got to say the quality of writing from what I've read, or with that Journey Under the Sea and The Abominable Snowman, the quality of writing is very consistent and just really
Yeah.
well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. I totally agree. There are these like beautiful nuggets in choose your own adventure books. I feel like people don't expect the headiness that's in there. These are written by real writers who were very philosophical and
Hmm.
thinking really bigger picture about choice and about what it means to be a kid and what it means to confront all of these, epic adventures that and very empowering to say like, yeah, I'm trusting you, little kid,
Hmm.
to do all of this is really an incredible experience for kids. And I think that is why the books were really written with care.
Hmm. Absolutely. Now, why don't you tell the audience where people can find Choose Your Own Adventure books, other than the website proper, which I'll be sure to provide the website in our show notes.
Well, theoretically, choose your own adventure books should be available everywhere that books are sold. If you do not see them at an independent bookstore, that means that your independent bookstore can still get them.
Mhm.
So please approach that store and say, where are my CYOA books, please? Because we would like to be in every single indie, as well as many independent specialty toy gift stores, as well as spaces like Barnes & Noble and Books A Million. You can also find us on bookshop.org.
Mm.
And like I'm saying, everywhere books are sold pretty much.
Yep, that tracks. I was up at a family reunion up in Lake Placid, and there was this wonderful like old town, old school bookstore. And I was walking around. I saw Choose Your Own Adventure on the shelf. I'm like, look, Nikolai, that's my son. Choose Your Own Adventure. I think I kind of scared him off with my enthusiasm.
But it was with the best of intentions, with the best
Yes.
of intentions. Yes. Yeah. We have a lot, we are definitely have a big presence in stores like that where there's a lot of like fun and kitsch. And I think because we are weird and we like to hang out with the other weirdos.
Hey, weird's good in my book. And another thing I wanted to say, I probably should have kicked it off at the top, is speaking with you at PAX and just reading about the company, you guys exude like a very, very positive vibe, not to use like a younger person's term, but like very positive vibes. Like you're just here to bring and share creativity. Very relaxed. And when I say non-competitive, you know what I'm saying? Like we're all here to kind of support each other and just to swap good stories. So I gravitated to the Choose Your Own Adventure because of also just such the positive vibe you guys bring to the
Thank
industry.
you so much. Thank you so much. That is definitely something that I try to also wake up in the morning and do. I think that that's also where we've been having a lot of fun on social media is connecting with people and feeling like we are all on the same level and experiencing this life together. And if we can find a little bit of humor and light in it, if I can provide that, I'm doing my best. I think we all need it these days.
For sure. And glad you mentioned social media. Like what are the platforms people can follow you guys for updates?
I would say that Instagram is a good place for updates. I would say that Threads is a good place for hanging out with me. I would say that Facebook is another place for updates if that's where you're hanging out. I'm pretty bad at updating our Blue Sky, but those are the primary channels that we're really on.
Excellent. I will look for those, and again, I will put them in the show notes so people can have easy access to that. Same thing here too. I was very excited when I finally got my access to Blue Sky, and then I'm like, oh wait, it's been like a week since I put
Yeah,
in Boss Rush content.
I'm a one person team on this, so there's only so much I
A
can do.
lot.
Like I don't believe in just like blast the same content everywhere. I think that if we want to build the community that I want to have, it needs to be paying attention to who those people are and what they want to hear from us. So it's really way more of a different experience in all the different ways.
That's awesome. You love to hear it. Well, is there anything else that maybe we missed that you wanted to plug or talk about as we
I
wrap
don't
things
think
up?
so. I think we've talked about so many wonderful things that we have going on. I'm just so grateful to be here. I hope that we can all continue hanging out in the PAX universe as well as on social media and that you can find us wherever. I should have mentioned libraries too. I'm so sorry to my
Oh,
library
yes.
friends. Please support your local library. Please, please, please. They are so important. They are so, so valuable, such an incredible part of your community. I really, truly believe in libraries. So
Mhm.
maybe that's my big takeaway is go to your local library and go find Choose Your Own Adventure books.
Yeah. No, I second that. Fun fact about me, when I was in high school, junior high school, because it was all in one, I was part of the library club. And I forgot if I like made my way up to like president or something like that. But I was part of the library club, and I would hang out before and after school in our school library, and it was my favorite place. I loved it. It was cool. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, a fun fact about Choose, sort of similarly, is that when Bantam first launched the series, the sales were so, and then they seeded, so they like just essentially donated. I think it was 100,000 Choose Your Own Adventure books to libraries across the country, And that's how the books took off, was from people discovering them in their local libraries, and then librarians and library staff being like, if you are looking for a book for this age range, these are the books for you. And so libraries have always been big believers of ours, and we wouldn't be here today without them. So,
That's awesome to know about that. I didn't know that. That's great.
Libraries, yeah.
Word of mouth, I'm telling you, those librarians and that staff, they'll show you the way.
They're the best. Yes. I love that you were a library kid. I love it.
I bet. Well, thank you so much. Hang in tight while I do some quick housekeeping, then we'll wrap things up. So, if you want to support the Boss Rush podcast and Boss Rush Network, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/Boss Rush Network at a tier that's right for you, earning you perks such as early ad-free access to this and other podcasts, exclusive access to spotlight interviews such as this one, and much more. So that's patreon.com/Boss Rush Network. But as always, your listenership and viewership is always enough for us. But if you're listening on podcasts, just please leave us a rating and review, primarily just because it helps with discoverability. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you don't mind hitting that subscribe button and like and all those wonderful things that go along with being a content creator, that would be greatly appreciated. And last but not least, check out our merch on TeePublic with over 50 designs to represent your favorite shows and much more. And I lied. This is actually last but not least. Check out all our content, reviews, articles on bossrush.net. I am one of the copy editors of our website. We cover primarily video games, but we also cover tabletop games, TV show reviews, and book reviews. So maybe there might be a couple choose your own adventure reviews on there. You never know. So check out bossrush.net. Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you so much for your time talking to me about these books. I'm so excited for what you guys have in store in the next 12 months. I'm really looking forward to it.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
Yep. So thank you so much, everyone who are watching or listening to this episode of the Boss Rush Spotlight podcast, the interview series for the Boss Rush Network. You can catch new episodes on podcast services or on YouTube. Just subscribe to the channel or Spotlight podcast feed. Thank you for joining us on this Spotlight. Bye-bye.
If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/Boss Rush Network. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Christian S. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.